everybody, it's OopDoop44. How are you guys doing today? And today I'm going to be doing another world tier list. This one from another rare game, Donkey Kong 64. Donkey Kong 64 is a great game. It came out in 1999. You get to play as Donkey Kong along with Diddy, Tiny, Chunky, and Lanky Kong. And it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoy playing this game. I have been recently playing a lot of DK Randomizer, which makes the game a lot quicker, more accessible, and easier. Uh, but still, 100%ing this game originally was really difficult, and then getting the rare banana. I've always loved this game. It is a pretty heavy collectathon, so I know a lot of people frown upon this game in some ways, but I think it's still a pretty good game, and I enjoy playing it from time to time, and I really enjoy the randomizers. But today I'm going to specifically look at the levels in Donkey Kong 64 and rank them from S to D. S meaning it's the best level ever, and then so on and so forth down until you get to D. Again, D does not mean the level is bad. I don't think there are any levels in this game that are bad. Just like I said with Banjo-Kazooie, Tooie, and also with Super Mario 64. But I do think that some levels need improvement, and others are pretty good the way they are. So we're going to start out with the hub world, DK Isles and Krem Isles. I think that this is a really good hub world. I think that everything is kind of placed in good spots. I think that the fact that there are items and bananas on the isles means that it's a big enough hub world to contain everything. I think that there are some bananas here that are just as difficult to get as some of the ones in later levels. Like there's this one where you have to use the monkey port to teleport up to the top of Krem Isle, play the saxophone, which causes a Chunky barrel to appear on a nearby island. Then you gotta be big with Chunky, smash on a small island with an X on it, and then go all the way to the other side of DK Isles to find that another rock has broken and it has an item in it. The first time I did this, I didn't realize that rock broke and I never got the item until much later in the game. So it's stuff like that that makes the hub world just as good as any of the other levels. Most of the levels are pretty accessible. I mean, there are a couple of question marks of where they located certain levels. Like, I've never been a fan of Creepy Castle's cannon being like in the back corner of the aisles where it's really out of the way. But overall, like DK Isles is a great hub world. It's not quite as good as like Grunty's Lair or Isle of Hags, but it's definitely up there. And I think the fact that the island is shaped like Donkey Kong's head is great. I love that touch. I'm going to give DK Isles A tier. I'm pretty sure I'm going to put it in A tier. So that's where it's going to go. So the first level that you go into in Donkey Kong 64 is Jungle Japes. Jungle Japes is a good beginner's level. It's relatively small. It doesn't have anything too challenging. You get Diddy Kong in this level the first time you play through it. There's an underground cavern that Chunky needs to go into that's really, really awesome. There's a beehive area. There is a mining area. There's a minecart race as well. You encounter Snide, Funky, and Cranky for the first time. Cranky's actually in a little clearing that is like the Amazon rainforest, kind of in the back of the area where it's storming all the time. Jungle Japes does have these timed races that are a little bit redundant and annoying, but not too much. I think they're just varied enough that I don't really have an issue with them. Each level probably has at least one repeating motif, and that's kind of the one for Jungle Japes is the timed races. The boss of Jungle Japes is Armadillo, and I'm going to be also going over bosses and kind of factoring that into the score for levels as well. Armadillo is a basic boss where you just throw 3 barrels at him and it's over. It's a very light and easy and a good first boss. So Jungle Japes, I think, is a great level to start with. I think that it has a lot going for it. Yes, the timed races are a little repetitive, but when you step into this level, it's like you're exploring a whole new world. And it's just, it really is a whole new world, but like it feels like it is actually the first time, and it really catches you. And the music for Jungle Japes as well is pretty good. I'm gonna put it in A tier above DK Isles. I think that Jungle Japes is an excellent starting level, and it definitely helps the player start on the right foot. The same cannot quite be said for Angry Aztec. Angry Aztec has one major problem with it, and that is sand. Like, the sand is everywhere in this level. There are certain places in the level where the game wants you to climb up a tree, swing across some vines, climb down a tree, just to get to an area that's a couple feet away from you. The other way to do it is to jump into the sand and take damage, but it's so much quicker that way that if you're speedrunning or doing something where you want to get something over with, you have to jump through the sand and it damages you. Cranky Kong is basically inaccessible in this area, or he's very hard to get to because he's basically at the end of a sand pit and there's a very thin path, like very thin. And every time I go to Cranky, I don't think there's a single time where I've gotten there successfully without falling into the sand. Like, it's just ridiculous. I do like the temples. You get Lanky in the Llama Temple, and you get Tiny in the small temple in Hub 1. And I think they're both designed pretty well. They've got different activities and different bananas for the Kongs to collect. I think the Llama Temple has one of the best mini games where you shoot these monkey faces and you have to match the sounds. I really like that one. The 5-door temple is a bit meh. They all seem very similar, and then they have this thing at the end where if you get the banana, you immediately have a target on your back, and you got Croc saying "Get out." I mean, is it really necessary though? And then you got a couple of sub areas, but certainly not as many hidden areas as Jungle Japes. I think everything in Angry Aztec is like you can see it before you access it. Maybe except this one small area that's basically just a giant sand pit in like a little tunnel. But overall, I just don't think Angry Aztec is as creative as Jungle Japes. I think as a second level, the sand makes the platforming like a level 6 or 7, platforming level rather than a second level platform. So, and then the boss is Dogadon, and this is the first time you fight Dogadon the dragon, and he's mid. He's just he's kind of like Armadillo. He's a very basic boss where you just throw 3 explosive barrels at him, and he's finished. Angry Aztec is not a level that I really am thrilled to go through. I mean, you gotta do it, but I don't think it's as bad as D tier because it does have some good things about it. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I think it's pretty mid. That's what I think about Angry Aztec. So the next level you go to is you climb up Krem Isle for the first time and you reach Frantic Factory. And Frantic Factory is a really, really well thought out level. If it's the first time you're playing it, you might get a little bit confused with the geography, but once you figure out where everything is, it is a great level. It's got a production room, it's got research and development, it's got a testing area, it's got an arcade that you can actually play the original Donkey Kong in to get not just a golden banana, but also the N64 coin, which is required later in the game. I think that the reoccurring motif in this level is the production room. All the Kongs have to go to the production room, and I think the platforming, it's a little above level 3, but that's good. It's a really good platforming section. I think that you get to race the car in this level. I really enjoy that. There's a really awesome mini game in research and development where basically you use Lanky on a toy keyboard, and these Kremlings come out of the toy keyboard and burp, and you have to repeat the notes that they give. It's really good. Frantic Factory is also a very good level design. Like, it takes you to all these different little areas. There are a lot of hidden areas that you need switches and stuff to activate. The shops are also relatively in the same area, or at least they're pretty accessible, so that's nice. And then the boss, which is Mad Jack, the Jack in the Box, is one of the best boss battles of the entire game. So I think Frantic Factory definitely deserves S tier. I think it's great. I think the idea is right on point, and I think exploring this factory is always something I really enjoy doing in Donkey Kong 64. So the next level is Gloomy Galleon. This is the water level of Donkey Kong 64, but I mean, I still like it. Water levels aren't always my favorites, but I think Gloomy Galleon does a good job of keeping areas spaced out. There's a lighthouse area. There is a area where there's a shipwreck, a couple of shipwrecks, and there's also a small cannon room. It's basically divided into 3 areas, with a small 4th area near the beginning of the level. But there is water raising and water lowering mechanics, but honestly, it's not utilized all that much. And there are banana porters that allow you to get to that area very easily, so that doesn't bother me too much. I think that just in general, being a water level kind of does put it down a little bit. I think it's a bit drab, but it's supposed to be. It's Gloomy Galleon after all. I think there are some bananas in this level that drive me up a wall. I think there's one where you have to go inside a ship as Chunky, and as soon as you get his banana, he becomes seasick, and it's really hard to get him out of there, and it's just, that can be frustrating. There's a seal race, which I was never really good at. There's the fish. I think the problem with the mechanical fish is that the mechanical fish, there's actually a chance that the way it spawns in, you may not be able to complete it on the first try. Like there's a small chance that might happen, which I think is a little bit of an oversight. But the motif in this level is basically all the Kongs go into this one ship, but again, it's kind of like, you know, Jungle Japes and Angry Aztec, where it's like all the same. I think the difference with this one is a little better than Angry Aztec is because in each cabin there are different items and different things. Like there's a bed in one cabin, and there's I think another one is like the brig. And plus, in this level, you get to play as Enguarde, which Lanky transforms into. You get to play as Enguarde the fish, and I love Enguarde the fish, the swordfish. He's great. I think Gloomy Galleon could be a little better, but I also don't think it's that bad either. So I'm going to put it in B tier. I think that's a good place for Gloomy Galleon. Fungi Forest. So this is an interesting one. This is where you get into the latter half of the game. Fungi Forest has a daytime mode and a nighttime mode. Unlike the water level in Gloomy Galleon, this can be a little bit annoying to switch between the two, because you have to go up in a cannon or climb the clock tower, and you really want to get as much as you can done before you have to switch. So that can be a little bit annoying. It's like I said, it's not like Gloomy Galleon where it was extremely accessible. This is harder to get to, or a little bit more annoying to get to. There's a couple different areas. There's a sawmill area. There is a giant mushroom, and then there's an old oak tree in the back of the level. I find a lot of the bananas in this level, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. First of all, you have to race this rabbit, and I cannot do that. I hate the rabbit race. There is a minecart that's pretty cool, but it's a little bit difficult. There's a spider fight, a mini boss spider fight that I really enjoy. You can only get there using Tiny at night, but I think that it's actually a pretty creative mini boss battle. Fungi Forest, I think, also is based off of a level from Project Dream that was called Fungus Forest for Banjo-Kazooie, but it was never published into the game. I even think the music from Fungi Forest is based on the original Fungus Forest track. Now, the one thing that really brings down Fungi Forest is the boss. This is the second Dogadon fight, which is basically the same as the first, except you have to play as Chunky, and you have to use Hunky Chunky and Primate Punch while the platform he's on is sinking, and if you miss like once or twice, you're finished. You're going to have to start from the beginning. I think Dogadon 2 is the hardest boss in the game, and they put him in level 5, which seems a bit, interesting, but I really think that the Dogadon 2 fight is always something I dread, and having to play through the level with a sense of dread is never something that I enjoy. But that being said, I think that Fungi Forest has enough going for it that I can put it in B tier as well. So I'm going to put Fungi Forest there. Crystal Caves. My God, what is this level? This level is so bad. I mean, it's not bad, but it's close. First of all, there is a Tasha on top of the level that rains down rocks on you every 2 minutes, and it is just so annoying. You could be in the middle of doing something and suddenly rocks crash on you, and the only way to get rid of it is through some really backwards monkey porting way of getting up there with Tiny. And it's just crazy. Not only that, but the level design of Crystal Caves is not great. You basically have only 2 of the 5 banana porters in the level actually go anywhere. You've got a cabin area where you literally play all the music pads and do all the things there. Then you got an igloo area where you play all the music pads and do all the things there. There's like no variety in this level. And then you got another beetle race. This one's even harder than the first one. And the beetle race automatically loses points because it's just so difficult and annoying. I just feel like this level is pretty bland and it doesn't have a lot of variety. The one good thing about Crystal Caves is I like the music in this level. Grant Kirkhope does a fine job with this music, and I guess it kind of saves it a little bit. But overall, Crystal Caves is a level that I even to this day, it's one of the smaller levels, and I still find it very difficult to remember where everything is. There's a lot of pocket areas where you have to use Tiny or Chunky to get into those areas, and just remembering where they all are is a pain. Crystal Caves is not a level that I like very much, so it's going to go in D tier. I wish I could put it higher, but that's just the way it is. Armadillo is refought as a boss in Crystal Caves 2, and he's not much different from his first iteration, with the exception that he can fly a little bit and he has some homing missiles, but other than that, the fight is very similar. And I should say, fighting as either Donkey or Chunky can be very clunky sometimes, so... but Crystal Caves just never has been a favorite level of mine. I find it difficult to navigate. I think that the bananas are kind of all over the place, and really the level design is just 2 areas and a main hub, and it's just not as expansive as you would expect other levels to be in Donkey Kong 64. So the last regular level in Donkey Kong 64 is Creepy Castle, and my God, I feel they put all their effort into Creepy Castle, because Creepy Castle is easily the best level in this game. And honestly, it might even be the best level in like all 3 of the Rareware games, like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, and Donkey Kong 64. Creepy Castle is big, it's large, it's got great level design. There are all these areas. There's a lower cave, there's an upper cave, there's a mausoleum, there's a crypt, there's a dungeon, there's a library, a museum, a shed, there's a hedge maze. There's everything you would expect from a Creepy Castle. You'll find it in Creepy Castle. I also think that the bananas, the regular bananas, are grouped so well in this level. You can get 50 donkey bananas just by going from the start to halfway up the castle. Then you can get 50 tiny bananas just by going from the middle of the castle all the way to the top. Creepy Castle is just... the music is just... there's no other way to describe it. It's just beautifully haunting. I can't think of one negative thing to say about Creepy Castle. Okay, maybe the car race is a little out of place and it's hard to get to, but when you figure it out, it's good. I think the one thing about Creepy Castle, which isn't really Creepy Castle's fault, that can put it down a little bit, is some of the Sweeney games like Peter Bother, which is just broken, and Big Bug Bash, which I never was a fan of. But those are bonus barrels. I don't think that really has anything to do with the level design. I think the Hollow Tree is a cool area. It's got so many different rooms, so many different areas you can go to, and everything's spread far and wide, and you're going to have to explore this entire level if you're going to want to finish it. And then we've got the boss, King Cutout, which is one of the most ridiculous but also one of the best boss ideas I have ever seen. It's basically just a cardboard cutout of K. Rool that can fire lasers at you. But I tell you what, something that simple, being the boss, actually makes it all the more scarier. And I think that King Cutout is the best boss in the game. And I mean, just the design of it is just incredible. Creepy Castle, there is nothing I could say about Creepy Castle that would make it anything less than S tier. It's gotta be right at the top of S tier. Boom. That's where it goes. And I love Creepy Castle. I'm a sucker for it, I will admit it. So that's the final regular level of the game. There is one more level called Hideout Elm, which is basically where the lead up to the final boss takes place. It's nothing special. You basically start by utilizing all the moves you've learned to get to a certain area. Once you get to the certain area, you have to use each Kong to play 2 minigames. As I said with Creepy Castle, playing the minigames isn't really part of the level, so other than that, Hideout Elm does not have much to offer, other than being a final area and kind of ramping up the stakes. There isn't much, really, with Hideout Elm to say. I do like how you have to use the rocket barrel to get to Diddy's area. And I do like I like the design of each individual room with the electricity and the giant machine that's going to blow up DK Isles if you take too long. And obviously the throne room is a great design. I think like overall Hideout Elm's got a great design, but that's about as much as I can say for it. Hideout Elm is going to go in the bottom of C tier. I think that's a good place for it. I don't really have an opinion of it one way or the other. It's got a good design, and I think that it's very good. And it's a good way to end the game. So I think this is where I would leave my Donkey Kong 64 levels on the tier list. Crystal Caves, I cannot stand Crystal Caves. I mean, it is just... I don't know if I'd put it in an F tier if I had one, but it's definitely D tier. Hideout Elm, like I said, is kind of mid. Angry Aztec, a bit annoying with the sand, but it's still okay. Fungi Forest, pretty decent, although the final boss is ridiculous. Gloomy Galleon, again, pretty decent. DK Isles, a great hub world. Jungle Japes, a good starting level. And then Creepy Castle and Frantic Factory, 2 of the best design levels you will find, with Creepy Castle being almost pretty much perfect, and Frantic Factory getting platforming right, and also just such a great exploratory level. Both of them very good exploratory levels. So this is my tier list for the Donkey Kong 64 levels. If you want to put your opinion in the comments, feel free. I am always interested in reading people's opinions and hearing from you guys. For the now, I'm OopDupe44, and I will talk to you later, hopefully for another tier list, or maybe I've actually been thinking I'm going to stream Donkey Kong 64 randomizer runs again, or I might just do some more Super Mario 64 co-op or some other videos. So stick around, and thanks for listening. Have a good day.